Was Thomas Sankara Africa's most dangerous president? Or was he the continent's greatest hope? The story of this revolutionary leader is one of courage, betrayal, and a legacy that refuses to die. Stick around to uncover the truth about the man they called Africa's Che Guevara. Subscribe for more untold history that will change how you see the world. In 1983, a charismatic 33-year-old army captain named Thomas Sankara seized power in the small West African nation of Upper Volta. He wasn't your typical head of state. You'd see him riding a bicycle to work, not in an armored limousine. He played guitar in a band and lived a humble life, famously declaring that public officials should serve the people, not enrich themselves. One of his first acts was to rename the country Burkina Faso, which means land of the upright people. This wasn't just a name change, it was a declaration of a new identity, a break from the colonial past, and a vision for a self-sufficient, dignified future. Sankara's vision was radical, and it set him on a collision course with the most powerful forces in the world. So, what system did Sankara challenge? In a word, everything. He saw the web of neocolonialism spun by former colonial powers like France, and he was determined to cut it. He called out the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank, labeling their loans a new form of colonization, a debt trap designed to keep African nations dependent. He famously said, "He who feeds you, controls you." And he wasn't just talk. Domestically, his government launched unprecedented reforms. They embarked on a massive reforestation project, planting over 10 million trees to combat desertification. They vaccinated 2.5 million children against measles and meningitis in just a few weeks. He banned forced marriages and female genital mutilation, and appointed women to high government positions, declaring that the revolution could not succeed without the emancipation of women. To prove his commitment to austerity, he sold off the government's fleet of lavish Mercedes cars and replaced them with the Renault 5, the cheapest car available in Burkina Faso at the time. He even lowered his own salary to just $450 a month. This wasn't just leadership, it was a revolution of the mind, and it made the old guard very nervous. The moment everything changed came on July 29, 1987. Sankara stood before the Organization of African Unity Summit in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. In a fiery, historic speech, he made a daring proposal. He called for a united African front to repudiate the continent's external debt. He argued that the poor and exploited should not have to pay an unjust debt. He said, "If we don't pay, our lenders won't die. But if we do pay, we will." His words echoed across the continent and sent shockwaves through Western financial capitals. He knew the risk he was taking. In that very speech, he almost predicted his own fate, saying, "If Burkina Faso stands alone in refusing to pay the debt, I will not be here for the next conference." Tensions were already high. His anti-imperialist stance had angered France, and his radical reforms had created enemies among the traditional elites within his own country and neighboring states. The clock was ticking. Less than 3 months after that fateful speech, the inevitable happened. On October 15, 1987, tragedy struck. Sankara was in a meeting with his advisors at the Conseil de l'Entente, the revolutionary headquarters in Ouagadougou. Suddenly, a group of heavily armed soldiers, commandos from the Presidential Guard, stormed the compound. They were led by soldiers loyal to Sankara's own second-in-command, his best friend and brother-in-arms, Blaise Compaoré. Gunfire erupted. Sankara, ever the soldier, reportedly told his colleagues, "It's me they want," and walked out with his hands up to face his assassins, hoping to spare the lives of others. He was gunned down in a hail of bullets, along with 12 of his aides. The upright man was just 37 years old. The man who had promised to lead him was the very man who orchestrated his murder. It was a brutal end to a dream that had captivated a continent. What followed was a swift and calculated cover-up. Blaise Compaoré immediately seized power, and his regime would last for the next 27 years. The first order of business was to erase Thomas Sankara from history. The new government announced that Sankara had died of natural causes, a lie so blatant it was insulting. His body, riddled with bullets, was hastily buried in a secret, unmarked grave in the dead of night. For decades, any mention of Sankara was suppressed. His speeches were banned, his image was removed from public spaces, and his family was forced into exile. Compaoré reversed nearly all of Sankara's revolutionary policies, cozying up to the very international financial institutions and foreign powers that Sankara had defied. Burkina Faso was plunged back into a system of corruption and dependency. It seemed as though the revolution had been completely extinguished, and its leader's memory buried forever. But a legacy like Sankara's cannot be buried. His ideas lived on in the hearts of the people. They called him the father of the revolution, and his spirit became a symbol of resistance. The turning point came in 2014. After Compaoré attempted to change the constitution to extend his 27-year rule, the people of Burkina Faso rose up. In a massive popular uprising, fueled by the memory of their fallen leader, they drove Compaoré from power and into exile. This opened the door to justice. Sankara's body was finally exhumed, and a proper investigation began. In 2022, a historic trial concluded with the conviction of Blaise Compaoré and his accomplices for the assassination. Today, Thomas Sankara is more than just a historical figure in Burkina Faso. He is a global icon for Pan-Africanism, sovereignty, and incorruptible leadership. His face appears on T-shirts and murals from Dakar to Johannesburg to Paris. His speeches are studied by a new generation of activists who see in his brief, 4-year revolution a blueprint for a truly independent and prosperous Africa. The man they tried to silence now speaks louder than ever. Thanks for watching. If you found this story as powerful as we did, hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the figures who shaped our world. See you next time.